Hello, welcome to another video lecture. Today we're going to talk about how the moderates joined the radicals in the aftermath of the Lincoln assassination. And this leads to radical reconstruction and military reconstruction, and kind of sets the stage for the rest of the Reconstruction age. All right. In April 1865, Lincoln was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth. This was after there was a big push to get freedmen the right to vote, many Southerners being concerned. John Wilkes Booth, one of them. It's a part of a larger plan to cut off the head of the Union, so to speak, and restart the Confederate cause. This larger conspiracy failed. Secretary of State William Seward survived his attack. Other assassinators didn't carry out theirs. But Lincoln, unfortunately, was assassinated. Now, John Wilkes Booth was a very famous actor during the day. So I guess imagine a Brad Pitt, assassinating the president. Kind of a wild turn of events. But this leads historians to question what would have happened if Lincoln wasn't assassinated? Would his plan have worked, this moderate plan? And we do know a couple things. His vice president, Andrew Johnson, was not willing to compromise. He's a Southern Democrat. He's working with radical Republicans. They didn't work together very well at all. And Lincoln probably could have avoided an impasse with Congress. However, it is important to note that Lincoln wasn't as wildly popular as he was today. Many often considered him to have gone too far in the Civil War in restricting civil liberties, and others thought him too lenient on the South. So he very much was walking that moderate plan. Unfortunately, we'll never know what Lincoln's Reconstruction would have looked like had it been carried out. So this still leaves open the debate, who was right, moderates or radicals? All right. Andrew Johnson takes over after Lincoln's assassination. He was Vice President Lincoln. He is now president. Andrew Johnson immediately began a system of moderate reconstruction where he allows Southern states to rejoin the unions free of condition, right? Pursuing that speedy return, okay? Those Southern states then re-elect former Confederate leaders. So Congress was adjourned when Lincoln was assassinated. And when they come back, they see that these former Confederates, these guys who were in Congress before the Civil War, who then left to serve the Confederate government back in the federal Congress, it's going to upset them greatly, okay? Johnson did this without congressional approval, something Lincoln never would have done. All right. They also know that in the South, these new legislatures that were passed something called the Black Codes. The Black Codes were laws intended to keep Black people in a condition similar to slavery. We're going to look closer at the Black Codes during our Zoom meeting, so make sure you're logging into those and paying attention to what goes on there. All right. In response to the former Confederates being elected and passing the Black Codes, the moderates are going to join the radicals. And in an attempt to undo Johnson's Reconstruction, they're going to pass the Civil Rights Act of 1866. The Civil Rights Act of 1866 is a precursor to what we will talk about in a bit, the 14th Amendment. It's important to know, though, that Johnson, opposing these radical Reconstruction plans, vetoed the Civil Rights Act of 1866. So now you have laws that were keeping freedmen basically in slavery. You have ex-Confederate leaders serving in the federal government, and you have Johnson vetoing civil rights legislation. The moderates aren't going to like this at all. And seeing the results of moderate Reconstruction and seeing what President Johnson has done, they are going to move towards radical Reconstruction. In response to Johnson vetoing the Civil Rights Act of 1866, they create the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment provides that if you are born in the United States or a natural-born United States citizen, you are a full-fledged citizen. There cannot be two groups of citizenship in the United States. You are either a citizen or you are not. And they said that anyone born within the continental United States at the time was a full-fledged citizen. This is important because it overturns that Dred Scott ruling, right? Second, it provides equality under the law. The nation's laws are all going to be equal and equally applied. So they can't create, again, that two classes of citizens. Lastly, if anyone's equality is going to be taken away, if anyone's civil liberties are going to be taken away, they must have due process first. Now, there are two types of due process. One is basically your natural rights that you have, whether they're stated in the Constitution or not, can't be taken away, regardless of anything else. You're a citizen, you have the same rights as everybody else. This is the basis on which modern day rulings in favor of gay marriage, like Obergefell versus Hodges, is based on, right? Everyone is an equal citizen. If one citizen has the right to marry, then every citizen has the right to marry, and that's the end of that story, right? The other part of due process is the actual process to putting someone in jail and treating them as a criminal. That is taking your rights away. You're being put in prison. You no longer have freedom. In order for that to work, there's a whole process, and that needs to be met. So there's two types of due process: substantive due process, procedural due process. All right. Now, states have to ratify the 14th Amendment. Just because it gets passed through Congress doesn't mean it is actually, an amendment, right? And they want to strengthen the Civil Rights Act of 1866 with the ratification of the 14th Amendment. Johnson is going to use the 1866 midterm congressional election as a way to campaign against the 14th Amendment and basically try to get a voting mandate to say, nope, this is not the path we're going to do. We're going to go all the way through with this moderate Reconstruction plan. This backfires for him incredibly, right? So he campaigns against the 14th Amendment and the radicals, and then as a result, radical Republicans win a 3-1 majority. Now, this is really important to understand, this 3-1 majority, right? Because now they have the ability to override vetoes, okay? They can override any veto. And because of that, then we are going to be seeing a decade of radical Republican rule. And what we're going to look at in the next video series is what those radicals did with that 3-1 majority. In the meantime, we're going to take a closer look at the Black Codes on our Zoom call, and we're going to take a closer look at moderates versus radicals. Which path was better? See you in the next one.